my 7th gear, and I lowered the gears a little bit before the start, but for some reason I just, even when I used the curves, I couldn't get it up to that high 180s. And yeah, I think I forget when I do the time trial, when I'm practicing the track, learning it, and then of course doing some Grand Prix, I never get to the point where I seem to be forgetting to adjust that 7th gear. So a couple things I need to work on to improve my league performance. But if it was easy, it wouldn't be fun, right? Here again, just trying to stay on the apex here. I do have that driving line on that does help me, and you know what? And I think I said last time in one of the last videos I should turn that off because I'm familiar with these tracks. I've had some experience racing them, although I'm not the fastest of the fast, but not the slowest of the slow. And I think sometimes maybe that line actually gets me off my mark, meaning that when you see the line, you find yourself adjusting to the line, and versus just picking a line and carrying your speed, right? So maybe that driving line there is actually doing more harm than good. And of course, some of you may be looking at my gear selection with my miles per hour here and realizing I'm just not pressing on the pedal soon enough, long enough. Yeah, I can see I barely get up to the 80s here. Okay, so about 16 minutes in, we're into our second part 2 here of the video review. Yeah, I think that pretty good. I think that was one of the troublesome spots for me initially when I practiced, but I got that first corner pretty good all evening here. Just trying to, again, a couple wide turns here, not quite getting that complex down. A little switch back there for chicane. Just again, trying to find the groove as usual. I see J Digital is 7 seconds on a gap there, 4.82 Stedman. Tried to go full throttle right through there. I did make some adjustments to the car prior to the start to allow the car to rotate a little better on that speed end, but I think my problem is I always think I'm going to pitch the car and spin it, so I stay off that throttle just a little too much. Of course, if anyone watches this video, they can make some pointers as far as perhaps my gear selection. Although I think if you go back and analyze it, I know the older games used to have some type of a analysis software. You'd be able to go in there and do laps and kind of analyze what you're doing. I don't think this game has that unless there's a third-party game to it, but I think that time trial mode is about the best you can do. Okay, so there, yeah, so here I go a little wide right here, realizing that I got Disco here. Now at this point I'm thinking to myself, well, if I can just stay ahead of this guy, get a little bit of a gap, but chances are if he pulls away from me the first on the green flag, he's going to probably pull away from me here. So, but I'll try to maintain the racing line as the best I can. And I think at this point, I think it's asking me to come in for a pit stop. Or there's one of these calls where I end up getting on the microphone saying I'm going in for the pit, so not to challenge that last chicane. Punch the curves a little bit here just to try to maintain a gap. But you can tell super late braking there because that dot just closes, that yellow dot closes on that red dot pretty quick. So I think that's probably where I'm losing some time, is I'm not doing late enough braking. Driving around like it's a Sunday afternoon. But that was one of the reasons I joined the league, was to race with faster people, and that's how you get faster. Here I touch the curve a little bit, he gets a run on me. At this point I try to stay in the middle of the track a little bit. There he makes his move. A little late braking there, so I give it to him. Either that or I went into the pits here. Maybe I did take a pit stop here. Did I take a pit stop? Yeah, I take a pit stop here. Now I'm not sure why, because they're not calling me for pits. Almost stuff it right there. I think they said you can think about coming to the pit stop, so I actually got it before that. And of course, as I sit here and review this, I'm thinking about my fuel. I ran out of fuel with a lap to go. So at this point, maintaining 6th. At this point, I don't know what position I'm going to finish. I feel I can get Stedman. Copper plate, I think, is far enough back that I don't have to worry about that. Although note to Copper and Stedman, just always stay with it. Try to stay clean. I think a couple of times I was closing on you guys, and you guys got a little willy. So, although the same thing happens to me when people start closing on you, hear their motors in the back, and you got to get yourself to maintain that apex. Yeah, don't worry about the leaders too much anymore. They always seem to catch me, at least with one lap to go or several laps to go. When that blue flag comes on, then I worry about it. But just trying to keep my eye off that track map. I think first couple of races I was always worried about getting in people's way, so don't worry about that. When someone's coming, you'll know it. Although even when they're a second back, that's kind of a lifetime away, but there's plenty of time to wait for those. In my case, wait for those directional arrows. Almost loop it right there. Get a little bit on that curb there. It is amazing how quickly the time goes by. Just getting here usually about 40 minutes before, doing some practice laps. Didn't get a lot of laps in this last week. And just trying to get the track down. I think I'm running like a mid-wing level, like a, I'm not sure what it was, like a 6 or 8 or something. Yeah, I got to really watch that speed. I got to load up that car in a Grand Prix mode and weight the car down with the fuel and make sure I get top 7 gear. I seem to be lacking on that in the last few races. Yeah, although I think you want a little bit of a tall gear, you don't have to rev out too soon, because then when you finally lose weight or you get into a DRS situation, you want to have enough gear. So, kind of a fine line there, I guess. Lap. So we just had two stops there. This will be the looks like the third stop will be lap 16. As you can see by the pit board there. And I think what might have hurt me too is I think I actually went over and used the quick menu and tried to go to full rich to turn up the revs to try to chase down Disco in some of those closing laps. But I think my last pit stop, I think, ended up stuffing it into the wall there on the into the pits, and just we go from like a 20-second gap to like a 40-second gap. So then I realized I was pretty well locked into 6th, and then running out of fuel. I think giving up 6th spot to Stedman for 7th. So still got some good points though. So Wolfman lost it, Pink Tank lost it. So I guess I consider myself lucky. Touching a little bit of the gravel right there, slowing me down a little bit. Yeah, sometimes better to be lucky than good, right? Although I think when the rain comes here, I think the guys were saying that they stayed on primes or full slicks. I, on the other hand, decided to go in only because I was thinking to myself, I didn't know I had the fuel problem to the very end, but ultimately I thought, well, it's getting wet here, and I want to be able to lock up this position. There was enough time, I think. I think Stedman and myself go back and forth, so I felt there was enough time to get in and out on intermediates. But I was definitely getting missed off the slick, so I thought I'd better play it safe. Yeah, we can do pit stops in about 4 seconds, plus your in and out time. So, if you got, unlike the old days we had to fuel, but if you got 20-some seconds up on the next guy, you can get in and out of the pits ahead of him. But no spins this race, so I had it pretty good. Pitched the car a few times, but caught it. I'm not even running force feedback. I think the force feedback was kind of funny with the wheel. It wasn't right. I'd have intermittent feedback, so I turned it off. Although this Momo wheel, Logitech Momo wheel, has kind of that dragging motor, so I'm either going to update to the Fanatic wheels or I was thinking about that G27 wheel, but I think there's a big difference between price of a G27 and $800 for a Fanatic wheel with the pedals. I believe Disco Potato bought the top end Fanatic, right, Disco? So we are at lap 14, coming to lap 15, almost halfway. Yeah, I don't know why. You know what? I think somewhere in the pit area they said let's change the pit mapping, the fuel mapping, to save fuel. And you know what? When I heard him say that, I'm thinking of it now on the review, but it didn't absorb it when they told me that. So, and I always thought they had no feeling we had enough fuel to make it, but you have to drive in such a way. Okay, now here someone gets a little crazy there. What was that? Copper plate? No, was that copper? I'm not sure who that was. getting all choked up here watching it. So here we are on lap 15, halfway to go. So whatever pain you were feeling, you got to feel it all over again. Yeah, it's funny where you. I'm not sure about the guys in front of me or behind me, but it's funny where you're always looking at the. At that, I think Disco gets a little sideways somewhere, and I shout on the mic that it seemed like a deja vu situation. Although, he's nowhere near me on the map, I just cannot keep pace. So I need to really pick up my pace. We still got a long season to go yet. Of course, the problem is nobody knows what the times are until we actually show up and race. So I don't know if I think some of the guys are doing practice races on Wednesday, which I don't attend. But and even if we are, we're not even racing the actual. I don't think we're racing the track that we're going to be racing next week. But it would be nice to have something on the forum where people can maybe post their times, so we can, so the people slower can work on getting faster to have more racing. Of course, maybe that wouldn't be the best strategy to let the other teams know how fast you are, but I think everybody wants to race everybody at their best. It always amazes me when I watch real F1 how quickly, some of the cars are that qualify, but then in the race they get these gaps, going a little wide on that apex there. They get these gaps, and then it's just interesting how that plays out. Okay, so now it's calling for lap 16. It would be pit stop number 3. See, that's why I change it, and I'm just trying to drive and change it. And I change it to lean, but I really want to go full rich. And I think up here I end up switching it again. And I go full rich. And that was a mistake right there. So that's probably where it cost me that extra lap. And of course I'm not even full throttle there. So I end up peeling into the pits there. Yeah, so it was this. Yeah, well, right there. See that? Now I missed the pit entrance, so I go straight here, and I didn't even pick up a penalty, not that I saw. So it may not make a difference now because I think Stedman ended up passing me for the 7th place spot. But at this point, I'm feeling okay. I'll lock up 6, get the 6-point points. I think there's a few guys ahead of me that either are out of the race now or didn't make it. I think that was that Disco? Not sure who that was. You go by so quick I can't always see him. So at this point I did pass somebody, so I realized that's for position. Yeah, that is Disco. So at this point I'm thinking to myself, deja vu. This reminded me of the race. I'm not sure what track it was, but there was a race just like this where he kept making mistakes and he allowed me back into it. But at this point, I know he's just setting me up right here. Again, nothing's changing from this lap, lap 17 versus the previous laps. Of course, I take a look in the back there. Got my rear view button set up on the steering wheel. At this point, I go full curves. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is where I have to go for the pit stop. So I pull over here, let him pass me. Did I pass me? No, I tell him on the mic and I pull over, and then he gives me the A-OK. I remember I was supposed to pit last stop. At this point, I actually make it in there now. But I think he realized, as I realized, that maybe there might be a gap here. So I think I'm getting on the microphone right here with about 29 minutes into this video and suggesting that it may be slipping away from him, although little do I know it's actually slipping away from me. Although I just didn't know it yet. Lap +2 on the stop. I think that means I was 2 laps. I always heard something on that corner, by the way. I heard some thunk or something. Almost loop it right there. At this point,